ask you a question. What is food insecurity in your mind? And what does someone experiencing food insecurity look like? Does it look like this? Well, that's what it is. 1 out of 4 college students experience food insecurity. It could happen to you. It could be your roommate, friend, classmate, or partner. If you haven't experienced food insecurity, you might wonder how a college student could not have enough to eat. Do they have a meal plan? Can't they get a job? Are they wasting their money? Don't they get scholarships? Shouldn't they learn how to cook on a budget or how to save money? We've learned that most students who experience food insecurity are already working multiple jobs on and off campus, and not all students can afford a meal plan. Even the cheapest plan is out of range for many students. The majority of students who face food insecurity have scholarships, and they're taking out loans. They're budgeting appropriately, using coupons, and cutting back as much as possible. But unexpected expenses like health emergencies, a broken down car, and rising costs of living can derail students' tight budgets and lead to food insecurity and homelessness. Research on our campus and in other studies across the U.S. indicate that food insecurity and homelessness among college students can impact many areas of functioning. We've learned about these experiences during interviews with students. Food and housing insecurity can have a negative impact on relationships and students' sense of belonging. There can also be a serious impact on students' sleep and their overall wellness. And there's a serious impact on academic success. This student described how food insecurity influenced their grades and stress level. In spite of these typical negative impacts, students who face food and housing insecurity are driven to stay in school and obtain their degree. They're doing everything possible to remain enrolled, even to the point of skipping meals and staying in their car at night. As a university community, we need to do whatever it takes to dismantle the barriers these students face in achieving their goals. My eyes were opened to this issue several years ago when it came to my attention that I had a student sleeping in their car. I wanted to help, so I began looking around campus for resources for this student who needed food and housing. And I wasn't finding much beyond the campus food pantry, and it was frustrating. Finally, Sarah Wright, who is the Assistant Director of Student Support Services in the TRIO program, said, "Mary, you haven't found anything because nothing exists." And that had to change. In 2017, a group of students, staff, and faculty formed a steering committee to understand and address student basic needs, specifically food and housing. We conducted a survey of graduate and undergraduate students to measure the scope of the problem of food insecurity and homelessness on our campus. Food insecurity is defined by the USDA as lack of consistent access to enough food to live an active, healthy life. We used the Department of Education definition of homelessness, and that includes living in circumstances that are not meant for regular habitation, such as in cars and campsites. And it includes living in situations referred to as doubled up. Those situations can be dangerous and traumatic. Results of the 2017 survey showed that 14% of our students had been food insecure in the past 30 days. And nearly 10% had been homeless in the past year. We know that some students are at greater risk, given systemic inequities that disadvantage and minoritize some groups more than others. NC State students of color, those who identify on the queer spectrum, students who are also parents, and students who are first in their families to attend college are more likely to experience food and housing insecurity. If you find yourself needing assistance, visit PAC Essentials, the online hub of resources. There are many sources of assistance on that website, including meal plan scholarships, shared meal swipes, emergency funds, and information about our campus food pantry, Feed the Pack. After the data were released, the university community and the general public stepped up. For example, Feed the Pack moved to a central, visible location on campus to increase accessibility and lower stigma associated with going to the food pantry. Meal plan scholarships were established, and campus housing remained open during breaks and holidays so that students who couldn't go home were able to stay on campus. But in spite of these efforts, the pandemic had a devastating impact on many students' ability to meet their food and housing needs. We repeated the survey in fall of 2020, about 7 months into the pandemic. And at that point, food insecurity had increased to about 25%, and 15% of students had been homeless since the pandemic began. Those data are consistent with rates on other campuses around the U.S. So clearly, as others have said, we can't food pantry our way out of this. Instead, we must address the systems level factors, the upstream issues that make students vulnerable to hunger and homelessness. We must focus on prevention rather than rescuing. And here are some examples of what we can do. We must raise the pay for on-campus student workers and graduate student assistantships to combat poverty wages. We must publish a realistic estimated cost of attendance so students can plan for the real cost of college. We must increase the supply of affordable housing for students. We must hire basic needs navigators. These are professionals who are trained to assist college students in navigating resources that are available but not always easily accessed. For example, navigators can encourage and support student applications for SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or food stamps. So students have been at the center of this initiative to address food and housing insecurity since the start of this work, and there are many ways for students to be involved. You can increase your awareness and understanding of the issues by watching the online PEAK training. It stands for PAC Essentials Advocate Knowledge, and that training is available to everyone on campus. You can read the survey research reports available online and listed in the resources section of this presentation. You can learn about the importance of upstream solutions. For example, there's a great book by Dan Heath titled Upstream: The Quest to Solve Problems Before They Occur. And there's a link to the book in your resources. You can be an advocate for increased campus resources by joining others who are advocating. For example, there's an NC State chapter of the new Student Basic Needs Coalition. And that was actually co-founded by Paige Swanson, who's a graduate of NC State. You could also join Holla for Hunger at NC State. That's another organization that's advocating for food security. And you can join the steering committee on student food and housing insecurity by contacting me. You can conduct research and disseminate the findings through professional journal publications and presentations on and off campus as other students have done. You can share your knowledge by talking to other students and maybe even writing an article for one of the campus newspapers. You can use campus resources and encourage others to use them. You could visit Feed the Pack and bring a friend. You can volunteer at Feed the Pack Food Pantry. Visit the PAC Essentials website and apply for the resources for which you are eligible. If you know someone who's experiencing these challenges, ask very straightforward questions. Did you eat breakfast today? Can I take you to lunch? Have you been to Feed the Pack? Let's go. You can help someone in need, and if you find yourself needing help, please don't hesitate to visit the PAC Essentials website to find resources. Together, we can address this truly wicked problem. I hope you'll join me and the many others involved in this initiative.